Alright, last tool before we get into burp suit and bug hunting. So, Nikto. What is it? Nikto is a tool that performs comprehensive tests against web servers. It searches for server misconfigurations, it checks for outdated versions of servers, it scans for dangerous files and programs on a web page. It has many useful features that we can read at this page. This is a page on Kali.org website, and it has a Nikto tool description. Under here, we have its features, so we can read through them. It has SSL support, full HTTP proxy support, checks for outdated server components, which we already mentioned. You also have the option to save your reports in different file types. We can go all the way down, identifies installed softwares via headers and files, host authentication with basic and NTLM, subdomain guessing, so it pretty much performs website enumeration and vulnerability assessment all together. However, the most important thing that it gives us is which softwares are outdated. Okay, but we want to see the basic use of it, and if you find this tool useful, feel free to check out all of the other options that you can use with the combination of your scans. And for us, to run the tool help menu, we can open the terminal and we can type Nikto. This will open a small help menu for us, and here we can see some of the options that we can use with this tool. However, for our basic scan, the most important option for us and the one that we must specify is the -host option. As we can see, its description says that -host specifies target host or URL. So let's scan our OWASP virtual machine. We're going to type Nikto -host and then the IP address of your OWASP machine. In my case right now it's 192.168.1.5. If you press enter, it will start the Nikto scan. And Nikto tool is made to perform these scans fast, so they will usually not take more than a couple of minutes at max. So let's wait for this to finish, and then we're going to read through some of the information that we got right here. And it's done. It took around 30 seconds, and this is the output that we get. At the very beginning, we got some target information, as well as the server configuration. It tells us which versions is it using, and down here it describes each of those versions and what it managed to find that might be interesting for us. As we can see, let's go from here. The anti-clickjacking X-frame options header is not present. The XSS protection header is not defined, and it gives us a description why this might be useful. As it says, this header can hint to the user agent to protect against some forms of XSS. And XSS is once again the attack that we will cover later. Down here it tells us some of the versions that it is running, pretty much the same output that Nmap tool gave us. We got the Apache 2.2.14, and it tells us that this version appears to be outdated. Current is at least Apache 2.4.37. It tells us pretty much for any plugin that our OWASP has that it appears to be outdated. And what does an outdated mean to a penetration tester? Well, it means probably a bunch of vulnerabilities, because most of the time a certain plugin gets updated and gets a newer version because of a previous bug or a previous vulnerability. If we go all the way down, it tells us that the Python version that it's running appears to be outdated, the Perl version appears to be outdated, pretty much everything is outdated. We get the allowed HTTP methods, which is get, head, post, options, and trace, and down here, that would be pretty much it. It also gives us some output as to which directories might be interesting for us that Nikto managed to discover. For example, this phpMyAdmin is a directory that we already found, and it tells us that this might be interesting for us. Down here. Okay, awesome. And this would be a simple Nikto scan. It gave us some information, mostly that many plugins are outdated. And if you want to combine Nikto scan with other options that Nikto offers us, feel free to use them. These other options are there in order to make a scan more precise. For example, if we run Nikto menu once again, we can see, let's say this option port defines which port we are scanning. By default, it's set to port 80, which is a default HTTP port. But remember that our Nmap scan gave us a result that there is HTTP servers running also on port 8081. Well, we can scan that as well with Nikto. All we have to do is type nikto-host and then the IP address of our target. And we can also add the -port option and specify which port we want to scan. Once we press enter, it will target that port and it will print us the information about that port only. And here is the result. It's much less information than with our previous scan, but we do got some things here as well. For example, this is the same as in the previous scan. We got that Jetty version appears to be outdated. We also got which allowed HTTP methods does it have. And we got some interesting directories, for example, /admin, /css, /admin.indexhtml. It tells us that it found an admin login page on this directory. Okay, awesome. We are done with website enumeration. All we are left to do now is to set up our Burp Suite tool, get introduced to its basics, and we are fully ready for discovering website vulnerabilities straight after that. See you in the next video.